Hello everyone, welcome to the Solo Gaming Spotlight. Today I'm sharing my list of top 10 games that I won't play without an expansion, and I've ranked them based on how much more I enjoy the game with the expansion added. With that being said, my number 10 on this list is sort of an oddball because I have to house rule this game in order for the actual core game to even see any life off of the shelf, if that makes any sense. So the expansion actually makes me able to play this game, but I still play it with house rules. And so for that reason, it's my number 10. It's not going to go up any higher. It's going to be a controversial pick, and I'm okay with that. Let's get to the intro. First on the list is a game where legends are born and sagas are written in blood and steel. Set in a mythic Norse-inspired land, this is a choose-your-own-adventure experience with a tangible, evolving world. You'll sleeve story cards directly onto the map, altering the landscape and shaping the tale as you go. This is Trudvang Legends. Right out of the gate, Trudvang delivers an immersive and captivating experience. You're thrown into a story where your decisions shape the game world, sleeving different locations and personalities onto the board, unlocking available quests and valuable items you'll acquire. It introduces an innovative pressure luck combat mechanic where you'll draw runes from a bag to activate your abilities, and any runes that can't be placed go on your miss track. Stop without triggering too many misses, and you'll be rewarded with bonuses. But if you trigger too many misses, you'll activate negative effects. This is quite fantastic at first, and is the reason I need the expansion for this game. I find for me personally, that the combat after a while becomes repetitive, and switching in new characters for different abilities was essential. The Lost Stories expansion adds 13 more characters. The core game comes with 6, so this more than triples the amount of playable characters available to you, and for this reason alone it increased the replayability of the core game for me, and made the campaign enjoyable, whereas without this expansion, I may not have been able to push through the whole campaign. So this expansion absolutely deserves its spot on this list, but because of the house rules I had to add, I won't put it any higher than 10. You can check out my thoughts on the game in a link I'll pin down below. Next up on the list is a game where you'll venture into a world teeming with wild creatures, unpredictable encounters, and high-stakes tactical battles. Armed with custom dice and unique character abilities, every decision feels crucial as you navigate relentless foes and crawl your way towards a final showdown with the baddie. And let's not forget, you'll be doing it all with the quirky, battle-hardened adventurer known as a Gearlock. If you haven't guessed it by now, I'm talking about Too Many Bones. At its core, Too Many Bones is a dice-building adventure RPG experience. You'll choose your Gearlock, a unique character with their own set of dice and abilities, and then embark on a journey full of dangerous battles and strategic choices. Each battle is resolved on a tight grid-based tactical map where you'll roll your custom dice to unleash attacks, defend against damage, and trigger special effects. I find the core game enjoyable, but the Age of Tyranny expansion adds variety to the first 3 days of encounters, as well as adding a campaign mode to the game, which ties together multiple gaming sessions, which is something I particularly enjoy, as well as the ability to acquire a Tyrant's Die on occasion, which can be really fun. So for me, I'm only playing this game with the Age of Tyranny expansion. Next up on the list is a game where I take command of multiple squads of military personnel during World War II. My soldiers scout ahead, secure mission-critical locations, and grow stronger as I carefully build my deck. I lose far more often than I like to admit, but I remain undaunted, thanks to my reinforcements. Now I'll admit, this is my cheat for the list because Undaunted is primarily a 2-player game where my brother usually outsmarts me. But thanks to the reinforcements expansion, I can now also lose to the brilliantly crafted AI system. In Undaunted Normandy, players go head-to-head as they take command of American or German forces during the Normandy campaign. It's a tense tactical game-blending deck building and strategic movement. But Reinforcements changes everything by introducing a robust solo mode where AI-controlled units prioritize different actions based on the scenario. For me, this expansion is all about the solo campaign experience. With Reinforcements, I can play through the entire campaign on my own, explore new scenarios, and command exciting new units, including tanks for both factions and specialist rifleman units. This expansion isn't just an add-on, it's the key that unlocks Undaunted as a deeply satisfying solo experience. Coming up next on the list is a game that hooked me right away with its clever worker placement and Viking theme. Building up my crew's strength to defeat enemies and gather spoils was brought to life through the game's stunning artwork. You've probably guessed it, Raiders of the North Sea. I mean, just look at this world map. And these Vikings. Raiders was already an enjoyable game for me, but the Hall of Heroes and Fields of Fame expansions took it to the next level. They introduced a Mead Hall to visit, new townships to raid, fresh townsfolk to recruit, quests that now become available at rated locations, and Jarls at unrated locations. Defeating these powerful foes let me subdue and recruit them, at a cost, but ultimately they end up strengthening my raiding party. Now I won't play this game solo without both expansions. The Jarls and Fame track from Fields of Fame add an extra aspect that I enjoy, rewarding me for victories over Jarls and turning overpowered attacks on raiding locations into extra points. Meanwhile, the Hall of Heroes Mead Hall brings even more options. The ability to complete those quests that appear at raided locations using the townsfolk from my hand that aren't part of my raiding crew, or gathering specific townsfolk rather than relying on random draws at the gatehouse. And when I gain mead, my crew's attack power increases, because let's face it, beer muscles in battle are as thematic as they are silly. That little detail always brings a smile to my face, blending humor and theme perfectly. And for all these reasons, I just won't play this game solo without both expansions. Next up on the list is a game that takes you deep into the heart of a mysterious island, where every action feels like a crucial decision. You'll gather resources, explore lost temples, and uncover ancient artifacts, all while balancing deck building and worker placement. If you guessed Lost Ruins of Arnak, you're absolutely right. The base game is fun and puzzly all on its own, but the Expedition Leaders expansion changes everything. Instead of starting with the same abilities, you'll choose a unique leader, each with their own asymmetric skills and strategies. Whether you're commanding the Falconer's bird companion or managing the captain's loyal crew, every game feels fresh and every decision more meaningful. It adds more artifacts, more items, more assistants, more idols, and more guardians to face off against. For me, Expedition Leaders isn't just an expansion, it's the definitive way to play Arnak. It adds variety, replayability, and a sense of identity to your expedition. Without it, something just feels missing. And so for me, I'm not playing this game solo without the Expedition Leaders expansion. Next up on my list is a game that brings the dungeon crawling experience to your tabletop in a quick, streamlined, roll and write format. I'm talking about Paper Dungeons. In the base game, you'll take your party of adventurers on a dungeon delve, defeating monsters, collecting treasures, crafting items, and leveling up your heroes, all by marking up your paper dungeon map with your carefully selected dice results. It's a clever labyrinth of choosing your path on your way to completing your mission and objectives, taking full advantage of your special power that game, and successfully defeating bosses and minions alike. The game already delivers a lot of fun in a short playtime, but for me, the side quest expansion has created such an enticing challenge each time I play that I just don't want to play without it. The expansion introduces, you guessed it, side quests. It also includes a treasure chest on each map containing a random relic and a tougher minion called a lieutenant guarding it. And it changes a couple of the level up and crafting rewards from the base game, but the reason I won't play without it is because of the challenge it provides me. Can I puzzle out how I'm going to get max score on both of my side quests, complete all 3 of my missions and my objective, beat all 3 of the bosses, and also get the loot in the treasure chest? That is a fun challenge for me each and every game. Trying to choose my path, and when I get here, can I get that gem which is going to unlock this potion, which is then going to unlock the crafting action where I want to have the ability to walk through that wall and get from side quest 1 to side quest 2 and still have an action die left over to be able to complete that side quest before I get there. Man, that is so satisfying. And for me, I'm just not playing Paper Dungeon solo without the side quest expansion. Coming up next on the list is a game I thoroughly enjoyed the first few times I played it, but by the 5th play, it started to feel like I was running the same smuggling routes and encountering the same tired faces in the galaxy. Kind of like an X-Wing stuck in a tractor beam. But then the expansion arrived, breathing new life into the game with fresh characters, new challenges, a galaxy full of opportunities, and reigniting my ambitions. It was just the spark I needed to get me back to some unfinished business. If you're new to this galaxy, I'm talking about Star Wars Outer Rim. I can't imagine playing without this expansion. It adds so much variety to the cards and characters, making every game feel fresh and exciting. The new ambitions are a standout feature for me as a solo player, giving my character goals that deepen the theme and my immersion into the game. While I don't win often, it's the stories I create through gameplay that bring this game's rich world to life in a whole new way. For me, I simply won't play without the Unfinished Business expansion. Next up on the list is a game where you become the bringer of dreams and nightmares, or shadows flicker like flame, with your ultimate goal to destroy an invasive species who are multiplying and polluting your home, while you actively try to destroy them and scare them away. You may have guessed it by now, I'm talking about Spirit Island. A game where you're not the hero arriving to save the day, you're the ancient force defending your home at all costs. In Spirit Island, you wield immense otherworldly power to push back waves of settlers who spread across your sacred land, building towns, cities, and corrupting the island with blight. But brute strength won't be enough. You'll have to plan your actions as you attempt to thwart their plans, using devastating force and fear to paralyze the invaders. and calculate when to nurture and reclaim the land you've already lost, if that's even a possibility. Every turn feels like a critical puzzle, balancing your limited energy, managing your growing powers, and deciding how best to contain the spreading threat. The invaders grow stronger and more resilient with each passing round, and their damage to the island becomes harder to reverse. While the base game provides a ton of replayability, I'm currently at that next step phase, and Branching Claw is fulfilling my needs. It contains my new favorite spirit character to play, Sharp Bangs Behind the Leaves. The expansion has added more fear cards, more power cards, new event cards, tokens, and just so much more variety in play that I'm not playing it solo without it. Next up on my list is a fantastic game that stands strong on its own. It's an epic race for power where combat happens every single turn, and it's set in a galaxy far away on a desert planet. Not Tatooine, but one where water is recycled from the dead, making it just as valuable as the spice known as melange. This extraordinary substance extends life, enhances awareness, and is created through the life cycle of the giant sandworms that roam the desert. If you read the book, seen the movies, or played the game before, then you already know I'm talking about Dune Imperium. This game captures the ruthless power struggles of the Dune universe, blending deck building, worker placement, and battles at the end of every round. Not just for resources, but sometimes for power itself, with the first player to reach 10 claiming victory. While the base game is outstanding, the Rise of X expansion replaces underused locations with new, exciting options that keep the gameplay dynamic. The expansion introduces tech tiles, versatile tools that provide lasting strategic options. It also adds dreadnoughts, powerful indestructible ships that you'll deploy in combat, which will increase your combat power by 3. And let's not forget the new leaders, each with asymmetrical benefits and powers, bringing even more variety and fresh challenges to every game. It also adds more intrigue, Imperium, and conflict cards, adding even more strategic options, increasing the replayability of this game tremendously. And so for me, I've really been enjoying playing with the new characters that come with the Rise of X, and there's just no way I'm playing Dune solo without it. Next up on my list is a game that's all about creating the perfect character, with dice drafting and dice placement that utilizes different dice manipulation abilities, and a completely satisfying feeling when you pull everything off just right. I'm talking about Role Player. In the base game, you focus on building a character by carefully placing colored dice and different character attributes, each with its own manipulative ability. You'll purchase gear from the market and add skills and traits to your character. It's a fantastic solo puzzle, but for me, it's the Monsters and Minions expansion that completes the experience. The expansion adds minions to fight and a climactic battle against the monster at the end of the game. Now, instead of just crafting a character, you're actively preparing for an endgame showdown, because during gameplay, you'll be gathering clues to uncover the monster's weaknesses and strategize the best ways to take it down for maximum points. And now, when there's nothing that you want in the market, you can go ahead and go on a hunt and take on a minion where you gain valuable experience points, gold, or even honor that all can be spent for valuable different actions during gameplay. But if you end up doing poorly in battle, you could also end up taking an injury, which will end up decreasing the amount of dice you have against that final battle. So choose your hunts wisely. The expansion also provides 2 extra class options for each color, each with their own special ability, increasing the overall replayability of the game. Another thing it adds are boost dice. These dice range in value from 3 to 8 as opposed to 1 to 6. So now the charisma attribute you've been slacking on can go from a 4 to a 12 with the placement of 1 die. It also adds new market cards that include scrolls. These are actions that you take immediately that can have some pretty powerful effects. And so for everything that this expansion brings to Role Player, it is my #1 most required expansion for me personally. I just won't play this game without it, solo or multiplayer. Alright, that wraps up my list of top 10 solo games I won't play without an expansion. These expansions didn't just add more content, they enhanced the experience for me. Let me know down below what expansions are must-haves for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next video.